Hi guys, I'm Uncle Richie.
Yo, what up? J Money's back.
And this is C10. And you're listening to the Uncle's Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Uncle's Podcasts. We've got Hey everyone, welcome back to the Uncle's Podcast. We're in season 3. I can't believe we've come this far, and we're up to episode 82 as well. So before we get this episode started, I just want to say a big thank you to you guys for listening in, tuning in, watching us on YouTube. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here. So thank you once again. But to start this episode off, I've got a guest who was on previously, and he shared a bit of his story with us about his rugby league journey and a few of those goals and ambitions. But today we got him in so we can talk about some healthy decisions, whether it's in fitness, whether it's in your lifestyle to do with nutrition. We're going to unpack everything there. So, Kenny, brother, how are you?
I'm great, thanks, mate. Pleasure to be here. Thank you, Richie. It's always good seeing what you guys are doing, but it's also great, seeing you yourself. Good mate. It's been a while. Thanks for having me, bro.
No worries, bro. It's a pleasure to have you on. I know I touched on a bit there, but on our last episode, when we last had you on, we sort of spoke about your rugby league journey. The ups and downs, the challenges, all the trials and tribulations. But today, I think where we're going into, I guess your main role or your main job, which is strength and conditioning, personal training, all of that. But before we get into that, let's touch on the word of the week, because that's the most important way to start the Uncle's episode. So, bro, what would you say, looking back at your last week, what would be one word that stands out for you?
That's a tough one. I'm just trying to think what's been going on in the past couple of weeks. But I think the big one for me, especially leading into the new year, would be reflection. Ooh. I think that's the word for me. There's been a fair bit of self-reflection. I know it's a bit cliche, everyone would go through that same stage this time of the year, but I guess it's always good. We always have to reflect, check where we're at and where we've come from, just to make sure we're heading in that direction that we need to. Yeah, so I think that's the big one, reflection.
Bro, that's a really good word, I reckon. And it's timely because, New Year's resolutions come up. Everyone looks back at 2024 and they reflect on the type of year they had. But I think a big thing with reflection is, actually looking back, reflecting, and then writing down, some goals as to what's next.
That's right.
What's next for 2025?
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Definitely very timely. I think for me especially, in the last year, I think since I've seen you, it would have been about like close to a year, like 8 months or so since the last episode.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, fair bit's been going on. I was on a different trajectory during that time. Yeah. I don't think I was in the fitness scene, not yet. I think I was building up like the page. But within that time frame, I sort of lost that page. My Instagram got hacked, my Facebook. So I've kind of had to start back from ground zero. But yeah, here we are, 2025, ready to get into that next gear and keep grinding forward, eh?
Yeah, that's it, bro. And for anyone, if you want to follow Kenny's journey, his page is called Movement Empower, and it's movement and spelt in pidgin, EMPAWA. Yeah, Movement Empower.
100, spot on.
But yeah, we'll chuck it in the description so you guys can go on and check it out. But look, there are 3 topics that we wanted to discuss today, dive into. Who knows where we'll go with these, but the first one is nutrition for active lifestyles, and that's basically around, you know, available foods or us discussing, you know, what sort of foods people should be, you know, eating or looking at so that they can achieve their fitness goals. The second one is functional fitness. So looking to, I guess, do workouts that improve your everyday movement and also to keep you fit. The third one is mental health and fitness. So I think, you know, the last 2 years, it's been a huge thing that's come online at the moment. And, you know, not only do you have to be physically fit, but you got to be mentally fit as well, because there's so much going on in the world at the moment. So, bro, let's kickstart. First one, nutrition for active lifestyles. Like, I'll hand this over to you, but what's your thoughts on that topic?
100%. Thank you, bro. Yeah, in regards to nutrition for a healthy lifestyle, like nutrition is such, it's such a broad topic, and you could describe it in many ways. But how I look at it, I look at nutrition as, you can look at it through different lenses, but I will look at it as two. I look at it through two lenses, like fuel, and the other one is, you know, happiness, in a way where you gotta, you know, make yourself happy and eat the foods that you enjoy eating, with the people as well. You don't want to be restrictive with your nutrition, where, you know, you're sitting down at a family gathering, especially like for islanders like us, and, you know, you're holding back on the, I don't know, what is it? Banana, coconut cream, all that good, bro, stuff, man. Yeah, the lamb flaps, you know. You'd never want to be holding yourself back from those good treats. So yeah, I always look at it from the two blankets. You know, you got to eat to be happy, you know, and that comes around, you know, gatherings, around people. That's the most important part about food, is like food brings people together. So you never want to dissociate that part of nutrition. It's like, it's so crucial, because that's how you connect over food, and no one would want to connect with you if you're sitting there, like, you know, not eating and you're just holding off because you got to stay in your calorie deficit or whatever that is. Yeah, I think that's a narrow path you're heading down. Not much happiness there. I don't know about you, but I don't think I'd enjoy that at all. But yeah, in regards to nutrition for active lifestyle, I feel like you do have to place them in order, and I always put happiness second from fuel, obviously. If you're doing the right things in regards to your movement, your nutrition should support your everyday life, and a lot of people don't know what that looks like. A lot of people eat to sort of please the brain. They're always happiness first, you know. They eat to what makes them feel good, the stuff that they enjoy, not thinking about what this is doing to their bodies internally and also externally, because you see it on them in the mirror, you know. And you can carry yourself down that rabbit hole and indulge all you want, but at the end of the day, it all leads to, you know, the end product of chronic disease and, you know, all of these stuff down the line: diabetes, osteoarthritis, osteoarthritis. That's and like just a lot of chronic diseases that you know you can mitigate if you treat yourself right and if you fuel yourself right. I think that's the main thing, is understanding, you know, why you're eating. And there's times where you can let yourself go and be happy around your family and friends, but there's also times where you got to, you know, put the foot down and be like, all right, is this serving me? Is this getting me towards my goal? And a lot of the time it's just digging deeper and asking yourself those, you know, deep and meaningful questions around your health. And a lot of the time people just leave that to the back burner and they're not honest with themselves. So there's a lot of accountability there. And yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow. It's a tough pill to swallow. That's why a lot of people are walking around, you know, not in optimal state. And it affects them, I guess, in some way or so later down the track. You end up paying the bill at some point. You know, you either pay it now or you pay it later in the hospital. And I'd rather pay it now. So, yeah. In regards to nutrition, let me think. Specifically for an active lifestyle, you want to be looking. It's a very broad topic, but ideally you want to be sitting on the scale of where you're at in regards to how you feel, how you look, and how you move. Those are the three main factors I'd say. And if there's an X in three of those boxes, then something's definitely got to change. And a lot of that change can start with nutrition. And how I like to look at it, there's a lot of unnecessary, unnecessary foods and also unnecessary carbohydrates. That's the main word I'm going to talk about, I think, with this nutrition is carbohydrates, and understanding what a carbohydrate is and how the carbohydrate works in the body. Carbohydrate is a macronutrient. So you got three main macronutrients. You got your protein, your carbohydrate, and your fats. Now the carbohydrate in particular it's such an essential macronutrient for us as humans, because that's what we fuel ourselves to move.
That's what it's like when we used to play footy. We'd always have like spaghetti bolognese or lasagna on the night before, because it's just loaded with carbs to keep the energy going. And exactly, making sure that there's enough glycogen. At the end of the day, when you break down the carbohydrate, everything ends up being like a simple sugar, which in scientific terms is called glycogen, right? And you need enough glycogen in your bloodstream in order for you to sort of burn to create energy and to move around on a day-to-day basis. So when you look at that from like today's perspective, like there's a lot of people walking around with like just extra energy, you know, that's just in the storage tank, right? It's kind of like animals when they go into hibernation, like that's what people are doing, but people aren't going into hibernation, you know, they're not. Animals, when they go into hibernation, they eat, they get really fat, and then they go away and they don't come out, like they hibernate, they're fasting, you know. It's a time where they need to store enough energy so that they could stay away, and usually that's a environmental constraint, you know. Usually some animals, if it's if it gets to that winter season where it's hard to hunt and all of these things, they have to sort of hibernate or collect food to store up, you know, in order for them to get through that period. Unfortunately for us as humans, like, you know, there's a lot of comfort in our lifestyle, so, you know, we don't sort of take that, we take it for granted, you know, the extra energy. And we just continue to consume, and the scale just goes up and up and up, and the quality of life goes down. That's a big thing, because after footy, when I stopped playing footy, I wanted to, you know, look at my diet properly and training and get the body right, like in a good state after, you know, so many injuries and all of that. So, and then I started looking at dieting, and as soon as I started to become more aware of what certain foods were doing to my body, then I could tell what would happen when, say, if I went and had KFC or if I went and had McDonald's, the amount of energy that I would feel. It would be like a high first. So first 30 minutes, first hour or so, real high.
Into that zinger box, eh?
Bro. Into that zinger box, like so good. And then after that hour or 30 minutes, it's just straight drop. You know, your stomach starts rumbling.
100%.
You don't really feel good. And I think, you know, from when I got to the place where I understood what, you know, that zinger box could do, or what, say, you know, a rice, chicken with veggies meal could do instead, and fuel you for the rest of your day. Like, oh, bro, like I'd have it at lunch at work. And then, you know, I could sit at my desk and be productive, be proactive. Like, you know, emails are coming in. I'm not tired. My eyes aren't going down.
100%.
But say if we went out to like Brecky Creek and had a chicken palmy, then came back, had a beer as well.
Ooh.
Bro, sitting there at my screen, like, you know, you start to go in and out of sleep.
Yeah.
And that's just a great example of, you know, picking a nutritious, PNG. Picking a nutritious meal over something that, you know, is basically like what you said, comforting.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's what it, and like, it's all education to begin with. Like, a lot of people are just miseducated. They don't know what is what. They don't know the differences between what's healthy and what's not. And like, a lot of it has to do with, like, you know, just the world in itself today. Like, you know, the media, how everything's just instant gratification. You know, you see all the fast foods too. Like, it's so cheap. Like, it's cheaper to eat unhealthy than it is to eat a healthy diet, which is why I said, like, you know, it costs money to eat clean, like, you know, but you're going to have to pay that money at some point, like either at the end or when you're in the hospital or right now. So I guess, like, I'd rather do it right now. Like, a majority of my money goes to my food, but I'm happy, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, you got to really understand why you're doing it. And I think that's what it nuts down to, understanding your why. And like you said, you know, you kind of know your why. You know, you could have a palmy and a beer and then go to sleep in your office, or you could have chicken, rice and veggies and then you're steaming through the whole afternoon, right? Being productive. So I think that's the difference. And in regards to nutrition, like what I was saying, like, it's the carbohydrates and the excessive carbohydrates that's the killer. You know, you look at a lot of the meals today, especially in the shops and stuff like that, like a lot of the processed goods, they're all refined carbohydrates, right? Like your bakery goods, like your pies, your croissants, all that sort of stuff, like great meals, but you know, should be they shouldn't be your everyday option. Definitely not. Like, save it for the weekend, or, you know, save it for a special time. It shouldn't be in your daily diet, because of the fact that what you were saying, you know, it's just an overconsumption of energy, and that energy just gets straight stored into fat. And yeah, you know, it's kind of like, you know, when you're overcharging your iPhone in a way overnight, like when you charge your iPhone overnight and
Killing it slowly.
100%. The battery doesn't last long during the day. You got to charge it consistently. It's the same. Like, you got to keep feeding yourself with carbohydrates during the day just to make yourself full. And the main thing with that is, like, you know, when you're playing around with excessive carbohydrates, you're not just overfeeding yourself, but you're overstimulating, like, your hormones. And I think that's the key one. Like, if you dig deeper to what it is, you're just playing around with your hormones, and, you know, it's sort of like you're getting that instant hit of sugar, and then your dopamine rises, you know, in a way where you feel good, and then it just drops straight away, you know, and you're off a cliff and you're like, oh, I need something, and then you go for the fizzy drink, you know, the liquid calories. It's just liquid sugar, you know. So in all essence, like, if you're trying to have a nutritional approach to supporting an active lifestyle, you should be really thinking hard about, you know, the sugars that you're putting in. Like I said, carbohydrate, when broken down, is simple sugar. So you look at your carbohydrate sources. Ideally, you want to go for whole foods. That's the best approach. You can go for whole foods, like, you know, your potatoes, your cacao, sweet potato, PNG, we call it cacao.
Yes.
Cacao. And your taro, I don't know what that is in English, taro.
Taro. It's taro, I think.
It's taro, eh?
Yeah.
But just, it's a different cacao. Yeah, pretty much. Ideally, it all comes from the ground. That's the thing. If it comes straight out the ground from a plant or whatever, that's awesome, right? You want to be as whole foods as possible. What ends up happening is, like, you look at, like, your refined carbohydrates, like your pasta. I mean, it depends, right? It depends on where you're at, and your why and where you need to go will depend on what sort of carbohydrates you should be prioritizing and what you shouldn't. Ideally, if you're sitting on a scale, like I look at it in like health in general, like nutrition, where you want to be balanced and you want to be sort of in the middle of the scale. You can be underweight or you can be overweight, and you sort of want to be smack bang right in the middle. So if you can balance that, you just have more room to play around, and you have more room to play around with, like, indulging yourself too. But, you know, obviously if you lean too far to the right, you end up going to the right. Or, you know, if you lean too far to the left, you end up going to the left. Yeah. And those two left to right, if you were speaking in nutritional terms, like you would call the right a calorie surplus, and you'd call the left a calorie deficit. So it's like, you know, are you over consuming or are you under consuming? And like people either fall on both sides of the spectrum. But where you want to find yourself is sort of in the middle, I think. And, you know, it's as easy as just looking at yourself in the mirror, standing on a scale, your physical assessment, you know, are you able to do some sort of body weight squats or push-ups or anything like that? You know, are you walking up a flight of stairs at the mall and you're out of breath? Like, it's so easy to know where you're at in regards to your health. And obviously getting sick a lot as well is another indication that you've got poor health, right? You know, your body's a strong system, and it's very adaptable, and if you keep it at that balanced rate where, you know, you have high amount of muscle, minimum amount of body fat, and, you know, you're eating the right, fueling yourself right, you're moving right, you know, you're in a position where you can manipulate the scale on both ends pretty well, as opposed to if you were on one side, it would be so hard because you don't even know what it feels like to be in the middle. So it's like, you know, and like you're so used to the lifestyle that you live, that you're not able to sort of know what feeling good actually feels like, you know. And once you get yourself to that place, it's a place you never want to leave, you know. And some people just need a bit of a taste, or just need to try and get themselves to that middle ground and try the best to keep yourself there. I think that's the key. But yeah, I think we've gone a bit off topic with, like, I haven't been speaking much about nutrition in itself.
Oh, bro, that's that's perfect. I love what you said there. There are a few gems in you know what you said there. And that sort of ties into the next topic, which is functional fitness. Yeah. Because I like the example you gave there of, you know, walking upstairs and, you know, feeling a bit tired. Yeah. And that has a lot to do with your diet and where you are, you know, on those scales.
That scale, yeah.
But, you know, another thing that can help you sort of get to a balanced scale is definitely functional fitness.
Yeah, for sure. Functional fitness. It's a broad term, and functional is, if you were to break it down, it's just like, you know, being able to just, you know, function to full capacity, I guess. Everyday movements, being able to have a good, it's like an all-rounder, being an all-rounder when you're being functional. I think if you were to simply simplify functionality, I think you would, like, it's very broad, but I think athletes would kind of lean to like a functional lifestyle in a way.
Even the word functional just reminds me of being young. Yeah. And like in primary school. Yeah. Because, bro, if the amount of steps we would have done, you know, back in primary school would have been, you know, out of this world. Like you have morning, you get to school, you're running around with your friends, then you go, you know, you have your morning tea, and then morning tea goes off again. Yeah. It's like you go and play touch peggy or touch rugby.
100%.
Then it's lunchtime and you're kicking the soccer ball. Like,
yeah, that's right.
Get home after school, you're
and
outside.
You're playing again after school. Like, so true.
Bit of a technical difficulty there, but as I was saying before, I'm just trying to get the energy levels back to what it was like when I was, say, you know, 12, 13, 14, 15, when there were no injuries, and we were just running around nonstop with all the energy in the world. So, yeah, I think having that mindset now has helped me sort of keep functionally fit. Yep. Whether that's going for a run or going to the gym I go to, or doing little things like whether it's in the garden or trying to keep sort of fit by consistently or constantly moving around.
Yeah. No, that's an awesome goal. It's a great goal, because part of my goal as well is always to try to be childlike, you know, the ability to to play around, jump, skip, hop, sprint, hang, climb. You want to be able to do all these things because I guess once you just want to be able to be in a point where, you could just do anything, I guess. If you were in an emergency and if you needed to run somewhere, boom, you're on.
Bro, honestly, that's what I think.
Exactly.
Do you ever think about like surviving?
Oh, for sure, bro.
Yeah, bro.
For sure. And I back myself every day because I just know, I'm putting in the reps.
If shit hits the fan and the world's about to end, you want to be... you want to be fit.
100%. You just want to be able to protect your family, I guess, at the end of the day. And if you're constantly being aware of your nutrition, if you're aware of your movement, and what you're doing for yourself and your goal, that's the most important thing. Like I'll always come back to it is like you got to know your why. I think that's so important. If you don't break it down deep enough, there won't be any consistency. You just got to know deep down why you're doing it, and why you're ticking these boxes, and then I guess everything else will just become fluid in a way where all you got to think about is, this is why I'm doing it, and there'll be tough days, there'll be rough days where, you'll miss those training sessions, but I guess like what I was saying, back to that word of the day, reflection, you just got to keep reflecting and knowing why you do certain things, why you're onto your nutrition and functional movement in general, and that should keep you going. That should be enough gas to keep you going. And in regards to that, like what I was saying before, like being functional is being able to I guess perform to an optimal level in all the, how would I say it? What's the right word?
Different aspects of your life? Or?
Yeah, I think different aspects in fitness.
Yes.
In fitness in itself, because fitness is a broad term, but I think it correlates to life as well, like just being fit for life, and how do you be fit for life? You just got to, be able to dominate physically, mentally, and spiritually. So I guess, it does sort of tie back in. But when you talk about functional movement specifically, you want to be able to talk about, all right, what's, I'm in a human body, what can a human body do? And am I able to do these things? Like I'm pretty big on mobility. Like I have been in the past, I'd say 3 to 4 years, I guess. I think since I started playing rugby league, I got real big into mobility because of the fact that once I hopped on the rugby league field, I just had to do a lot more kilometers, like do a lot more running, and it was way high intensity, and just my old union sort of habits just didn't cut the bill. Like, I just had to do more Ks in the legs, and like, if I hadn't have, if I was too tied up, if I didn't have enough hip mobility, if I didn't have, mobile ankles, all of that force would just go straight to the joint, and I'd be struggling, I'd be sore day on end, sore hamstrings, sore calves, sore Achilles, shin splints, stuff like that. Whereas now that the coin's flipped over to like mobility and range of motion and opening up, being fluid through all ranges within the body, it just helps, bro. And it helps in regards to performance, it helps in regards to recovery. And at the end of the day, you just look good as a byproduct, and for me, I'm like, sweet. I know why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this, because I want to be able to play footy till I die, pretty much. I love playing footy. Like, it's just, I think it's a great expression of functionality to me.
Wow.
If I were to put it in, it's like, if I can keep this going at an older age, like I can say to myself that, I've done a good job, I guess.
That's amazing. And I got 2 questions. Because people out there listening in, they're probably, I don't know, but there are probably some people out there that, what's one sort of thing they can start doing functionally, to start their fitness journey, whether it's a walk or, going for a slow jog, maybe on a treadie. What's one thing they can do there? And then second question is, actually, I lost my train of thought. So let's
okay.
Let's go with the first question,
then
I'll think about the second one.
Yeah, sweet. So, I think that It's as simple as it sounds. Like, yeah, you just want to get out there and like what we were saying, like walk. I think that's the first step to functionality is like just being able to move from A to B, right?
Yeah.
And then everything else just comes on the back of that. Like, how can you move from A to B? You know, can you move fast? Or, you know, can you, I think it just starts from, are you able to walk from A to B to begin with? And then you can try walking from A to B. And then if you have some problems between A to B, then you can start to unpack those, you know, as you go, right?
That's my second question, because then comes in, say if I go for a 5K run and then after that run I pull up and my hips sore. Yeah. Then, you know, that what you said there, that's, you know, going from A to B and then finding out that, oh shit, like maybe my hip mobility isn't, you know, up to scratch.
Yeah, that's right.
So we spoke about, you know, going for a walk there as one thing that you could do to start, you know, being functionally fit. But what are probably two things that you can do sort of mobility wise to like kickstart your mobility journey as well?
Yep. Cool. I look at mobility as being able to have access. So you want to look at the joints and like, you know, how they move. So it's like, can you move your hips pretty well? Like, you know, can you take nice long strides without it affecting your lower back, that sort of thing. Can you, are you able to, you know, walk a certain amount of distance, like walk 5Ks or something without your calves sort of, you know, getting to that point where it's just like, you know how it feels, like the calves get overloaded. There's the process of, replenishing the system in the muscle in itself, like the lactic acid management. Like when you're undertrained and underdeveloped, like lactic acid is high, it's just a byproduct of moving the muscles. And when you don't train your muscles as much, like you're not able to sort of cycle through that system and get rid of lactic acid pretty quickly. So that's why you find that when you're not as physically active, if you go out for a little walk or jog or something, you just feel all the muscles just tighten up very quick. Right?
Yeah, perfect.
And I think that's perfect in regards to functionality. And like what you were saying, like, yeah, mobility is a key part, having access, but I think another key part before having access is just being strong in general. So you've got to have some strength. So you've got to be strength training in a way, where you're building some strength capacities, and then you're also opening up and strengthening through length is what I like to call mobility. So it's like being able to strengthen through length. So being able to not just do, what do you call it? Like you see some people, they sort of do half bench press reps where they just hover just above the chest and they don't go past 90. Yeah. But it's like you can get that bar to your chest, you know? I mean, and like, you know, if you can't get it in the beginning, like that's sweet, but like that should be a goal. Like you should be working to full range of motion, or like some, like your squats too. Like, you know, if you're not able to squat ass to grass, like that should be a big focus point. Or, you know, like what I was saying, if you're not able to hang, you know, that's another big one is hanging, bro. That's huge. A lot of my clients, I always set up goals, like physical goals, you know, movement goals in a way. You should be able to hang, you should be able to do a pull up or a chin up, or it's something that we should be working towards, because it just shows that you've got mobile shoulders, flexible shoulders, strong shoulders if you can hang for a certain amount of time. And if you can do a pull up, like even better, you know. And there's entry points and there's places where you can start, and you can do so much. But yeah, I think just being able to set those standards first, and then being able to be like, yeah, okay, I need to be able to hang, but why can't I hang? Like some people, it's because, you know, shoulders are tight because we're just sitting down rounded all day, you know, on the table, and then, you know, we're never, you know, nice and tall, nice and proud. And it's literally like habits, day-to-day habits. That like if you can, like sitting's like the new smoking. I think I said this in my last podcast too. Like you restrict yourself so much when you sit on the chair for like 8 hours a day. Like, you know, you tighten up your hips, they shorten all the muscles there. You know, your shoulders get rounded, and then, you know, when you want to extend and like walk or do stuff where you need to open up. It's just so restricted.
Yeah.
So I think, in regards to functional movement, like you want to be able to sort of build that capacity where you're able to, walk a distance and then run a certain distance. But then that's another thing too. A lot of people, they do it in pain. Like a lot of people, like they're very restricted, but they've got such good mental mind strength that they just do it in pain, but they're not actually addressing the product, or the effect.
Which is worse.
And then it's worse because then you're just grinding on your joints, like you're just injury. You're gonna pull muscles, and then So, I mean, there's so many information is out there.
Yeah.
It's on Instagram, on ChatGPT, man. Put in all your problems there.
ChatGPT, write me a program. I am, whatever,
exactly,
100 kilos, 193
That's
centimeters.
Right.
That's me, by the way.
Bro, 100%. Like, it's that simple nowadays. It's just like all the information's out there. It's just you've just got to know what you're looking for, and and where you can start. I think that's the main thing, is like the entry point, and that's where people like me come into play. It's like the people with experience who've been doing it for a long time. Like I've been training for like 10 plus years since high school. Like I got my certs in year 11, my cert 3 and 4, but I've never really applied myself, with helping people. So this has kind of been the first step for me getting into fitness and heading towards my passion. So it's good, and I'm learning so much along the way. But yeah, what we were saying in regards to functionality, it's like, you want to be able to be strong throughout the whole body, not just the arms, not just the arms and the chest, but you want to have strong legs, you want to be able to have strong shoulders, you just want to be an all-rounder. And if you don't know what that is, like chat GPT. How do I be an all-rounder?
That's perfect. And it all ties in with each other. So, we had nutrition there, functional fitness. And to finish off, we'll talk about probably, one of the more important ones that has come online in the last 5 years or so is your mental health. And I think that's a big one. You would see that in your role now, just training people, whether it's in classes or one-on-one. I guess you would get firsthand, experience of, where people's mental health may be, because you're conversating with them, you're talking to them, and you guys are sort of, working hard. So you're getting them into a vulnerable space as well, when they're tired, when they're down. A funny thing that I saw the other day is it's funny how barbers have become, like psychologists now.
Bro, that's so true, man.
Bro,
that's facts. Shout out to my barber. Nene. That's why he cuts out at Chermside West. You're the man, fresh face.
That's why they always hate it when you cheat on them. Cause,
exactly, bro.
Bro, because when you sit down in the chair, the amount of stuff you can tell your barber, and the amount of stuff they tell you, and it's crazy. But that's another topic. But it ties into this, whole thing of mental health and fitness, and how important it is to go with your nutrition and functional fitness. So, I mean, what is, or how important is mental health and fitness for you?
Oh, bro, it's so important, man. It's crucial. I think it sort of balances out in a way where, being physically fit is kind of like, it kind of goes hand in hand with like stress and managing stress. Because when you talk about like mental health, right, you just talk about being able to endure, right, stressful situations. And I think like, physical fitness or functionality in a way aids that stress, and it keeps it at bay in a way where because when you're working out, you're stressing the body in itself, right? And it's like your body sees stress as stress, mental, physical, or emotional. It's just stress, and that stress at the end of the day is sort of there's if you, like I was saying, like if you dig deeper and if you look at the hormones, the hormone cortisol, it's kind of like your fight or flight hormone. It's that stress signaling hormone where when you wake up in the morning, your cortisol level starts to rise, and then as you go towards the end of the day, it rises, and as it rises, you sort of it doesn't rise at the end of the day. It rises as you wake up, as you alert, and as you go through your day, cortisol stays up, and then it gets to the point where you're just tired, and then you sleep, and then the cortisol comes down. So in a way, it's like you manage your sleep to sort of manage your stress in a way. So it's kind of like, you start your day off with low cortisol. It builds up throughout the day. Stress, and then you're tired, body's fatigued, mentally, physically, emotionally, and then you go to bed, boom, reset, right? How physical training affects that cortisol rise is it sort of kind of, it keeps it at bay because of the fact that it gives you, you're kind of like controlling the cortisol in a way. You're controlling it. That's the main thing. Like a lot of people don't know how to control it, and the cortisol kind of controls them, right? Like it's just stress, and when you're in a state where there's so much stress, you naturally just lean towards comfortability, because you want to sort of, like, as a byproduct of stress, we always seek comfort, right? Because that's sort of like a safe space, and a lot of people, it would be comfort in the form of food. In the form of people in itself, can be abusive too, in the form of like relationships. Some people can abuse stress in that way, where they abuse people, they use people because it makes them feel safe, but it's not because of the fact that they're serving the other person on the other end. And just like what you were saying in regards to physical fitness, what you're doing is you're just self-inflicting that stress so that you're kind of taking a bit of control of those cortisol levels, where you're giving yourself some, and then you're letting yourself recover, and then you're giving it some more. And in a way, it's sort of like you're in control. It's not controlling you in a way. And that's what a lot of people who are working jobs where it's very stressful, sometimes they have problems sleeping because of the fact that cortisol is just at a high. It's at a high. Yeah, and, wow. In order to sort of bring it back down, like what I was saying, when the cortisol levels are high, it's like your stress signals are high. It's hard to wind down when stress is high. Yeah. You're just in go mode, and then your sleep quality is poor. You're not sleeping right because your brain's still firing as you go into sleep. One of my good mates, he reached out to me and he was saying, I've got very high cortisol levels. Like, I'm struggling with sleep. Like, obviously he's a bit overweight too, like just a bit of excess fat. And it's like, he moves every day though. Like, he works a physical job, and he moves every day, but the stress levels are still high, and he doesn't exercise daily though. That was the key. I was like, yeah. And his nutrition's probably out the gate. So that's the key as well. Yeah. So it's kind of like you got to tie everything together, right? Like,
and that comes back to what you were saying, balancing the scales. And,
that's right.
He's identified that, he's feeling a bit tired. He can't sleep, but the nutrition and not doing, functional fitness outside of his work hours. Yeah, it's not there. So
I got you. That's literally 100% it. I'm just gonna go back to what I said before. I think I kind of stumbled over my words, but how I was saying with cortisol management and how I said when you wake up in the morning and it rises, I actually, that's wrong. What actually happens is you wake up, your cortisol's up, and then as you go about your day, naturally your cortisol levels should drop. So it's like stress is high when you wake up because you're just alert, It's like, all right, what are we doing? Go. And then over the course of the day, your cortisol levels should be dropping enough to the point where like it's low, and then you're in a state where, I can go to bed now, But some people, it's just high.
It's just high. And then there's things that affect that as well, like caffeine, stuff like that. You know, sometimes you need caffeine because the caffeine kicks the cortisol up. And that's how you sort of get that instant boost of energy, but it's not really energy, you know, because like what I was saying, energy is sugar, right? Yeah. Carbohydrate, energy is sugar. So like, you know, how are you getting energy from caffeine if there's no, if I'm drinking like, you know, a long black with no sugar, it's what it's doing to the hormone, you know, that keeps you up and alert. So like it's so much deeper than what it is. But like what I was saying, like if you're able to kind of control your hormones in a way, and like what I was saying, you know, you control your movement, you're sort of getting cortisol, like, you know, you're bringing that stress, you know, you're controlling that stress. So your body's sort of working with you in regards to, all right, the cortisol's up, I'm awake, I can go, let's go. Can we hold this for this long? And then after your workout, and then it drops, you know? So it's like the more you can take control of that, the more you can regulate your hormones, the better off you will be. And it's another big thing too, like what we were saying, like in regards to food and how like over excessive carbohydrates and how it plays a role in your hormones as well, not just like body fat in general. Like, you know, when it's instant gratification, it's just dopamine hit. You're just constantly being hit with dopamine and you feel good eating like KFC, Macca's, all this shit. But then after the fact, it's just boom, instant drop, you know, and like you go back chasing, you crave it. You know, everyone craves high dopamine. You know, everyone's just like their arousal levels or what they use to inflict dopamine, that's where the problem is, right? So you should be exercise, stuff like that. Yeah. Those should be the main key indicators of how you should be controlling your dopamine and your hormonal levels. So it shouldn't be like sugary foods. Some people like, you know, sugary foods, you see it a lot on social media, like pornography, stuff like instant gratification, thing, you know, it just shoots dopamine up to the time where like, you know, when you actually need it, it's not there, you know. It doesn't react like when you actually need that dopamine hit, like if you were talking to a chick or something and it's not there because of the fact that your body's so used to being stimulated by pornography or stuff like that.
And I think that's a big thing, and we could honestly talk about that one for a while, because we know what happens, you know, back home in PNG. Yeah, like pornography is the number one search thing in Papua New Guinea, and 100%. Like a lot of I feel like a lot of men, maybe women as well, don't know what it's actually doing to their bodies and your mindset and how you think of, you know, sex as sex, and how you visualize other people. And because you can get to a level where if you watch too much of that, then you start shaping your own brain. Your brain becomes what you see out there, and it comes back to mental health. Like 100%. That's not healthy at all.
No, it's not at all.
If you go about your daily life and you're watching pornography like non-stop, like you're gonna hit like a wall at some stage.
Sure, bro.
Don't know what that wall is for, you know, that person, but it can be in anything, whether that's, you know, your mental health, mental fatigue.
Sure, bro. 100%.
You know, getting in trouble for the wrong reasons, or even just your fitness, because your energy is being spent
elsewhere. Yeah.
Whereas your energy could be
spent
going for a walk.
That's right.
Doing something functional. And then
eating the right foods.
Or
using that energy to actually, you know, search and find out why you're fat, or, you know, why you're too skinny, or why you can't build muscle. Like it's, you know, you want to be able to solve problems. I think that's at the end of the day, like we're built to solve problems. And if you're not solving problems, like you're really just kind of, in a way, like wasting yourself. And like what you were saying, that stress level, right? Where like whenever you're stressed, you're trying to solve a problem. But that's the thing, you know, the problem with modern day society is that the problems never end. Yeah. So it's like, in order for you to control that cortisol and keep that stress level at bay, one problem that you can solve is your health, you know, and you can solve that on a day-to-day basis, right? And when you look at it from that frame and that point of perspective, it just goes to show how, like, if you're a CEO or if you're someone who's just busy and on the go and you're just so stressed, getting minimal amounts of sleep, exercise literally could be I know it is 100%, exercise and nutrition, because when you're taking control of that and when you're solving the problem with that, you're, like what I was saying, you're eliciting stress, but you're controlling the stress. And then after your 45-minute workout, you feel great because you're like, yeah, I've solved my problem today. I worked out today. And then the cortisol comes down, the dopamine goes up, and it's just like you feel happy. And then now, your body's in a state where like it's accomplished something and you're able to get a good night's rest, go home, have a good dinner, see the wife, whatever it is, the kids, be happy, and not just like, oh, bossy, don't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah.
That's how it usually is, with busy people, right? Like you just ignore everyone else, right? And you're so into your own zone, and it's not healthy. We're built to connect, and we're built to, share our experience with each other, and I guess that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, exactly, bro.
Yeah,
that's it. And to finish off, I'll ask you this last question, but basically just want to give you the floor to sort of give any advice you would give to, say, a young person coming up. What's one thing they could look to doing, whether it's in fitness, nutrition, or even their mental health. What's one thing they could, prioritize so that they probably don't have the same experiences we may have had when we were, 21, 22, with all those injuries and everything like that.
That's right. I just think of like a younger me when I think about that, and it's just like, I think the one advice is like, what is it? You're not missing out on much. I don't know. For me, that's what it is. I think you're not missing out on much. Like you are what you create. So in a way, like all of your validation and everything outside of you shouldn't be sold from being at a certain place, certain time with certain people. I think the best thing you could do is just focus on inside and what's within and what you're trying to build for yourself, for your family, for the people around you. It should just be like, I think it's not having that external look, but just that deep dive inside internally. I think that would be a huge piece of advice I would give to myself. And that it is tough, and it's meant to be tough. I think that's it. Yeah.
Oh, bro, that's perfect. Big thank you to you for hopping on again. This is the second time we've had you on.
Sure.
I'm sure there'll be many more times. We'll just keep this going, but
definitely.
Yeah, we love having you on. So thank you, bro, for hopping on.
Thank you very much, bro. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone.
Let's go.